A little over a week ago, I uploaded a new episode of Off the Cuff. This was episode 28, Deus Ex Machina, and I was pretty proud of it. I thought it was a really good one, but it got removed by YouTube after just 6 views. For the same reasons, another post of mine got removed about a year ago. Something about medical disinformation. So before going forward, I want to encourage you all to check out episode 28 on my Rumble page. So, I was going to try and clean this video up a little bit and reload it to YouTube, in a censored form. But I decided to not do that and use this as an opportunity to encourage you people to go over there and check me out there and support a different platform. I'll put a link in the description. So I would appreciate if you could do that. Now, Google just lost some kind of big antitrust lawsuit that could end up damaging them pretty badly. And it's starting to look like they might be going the way of Microsoft a little bit, which is good because they shouldn't be the only game in town. They shouldn't have a monopoly on the search engines and information, because once they start censoring and stuff, that sort of becomes this immutable force we can't do anything about. And that's not right. I remember using Google in the late 90s because I was with a woman who worked in the tech industry. And I distinctly remember Google being viewed as kind of like the underdog, of the tech world at that time. That's obviously not the case anymore. They've become exactly the opposite. And on that note, the Rumble stock is very low right now. And I don't give financial advice, but I'm just saying it might be something you want to look at, because once Google starts falling, something's going to have to replace it. And a platform like Rumble may be a good contender there. So I think it's good to take a look at the exact charge against me, the policy that I violated. Medical misinformation. Now, I feel like I've been pretty careful in the past by not saying certain words that I think will get me taken off of YouTube, but I guess I've gotten a little complacent. So from now on, I'm going to say the big V when I mean that word in front of you right now. And I'm going to say the big C when I mean that word in front of you right now. So with that in mind, let's read. Content that poses a serious risk of egregious harm by spreading medical misinformation about currently administered big Vs that are approved and confirmed to be safe and effective by local health authorities and the World Health Organization isn't allowed on YouTube. So what I said that I believe got this removed, and I'm going to try to say this carefully, and if you see my channel get shut down or I disappear for a while, you know what happened. You can go over to Rumble and find me. But what I said was in response to this viewer's comment on my blog looking at the book Leaving California by Mark Lanigan. And basically, I'm asking questions about Mark Lanigan's death and pointing out the fact that cause of death was never announced to this day. People still don't know how he died. And so this person, or this bot's goal, obviously, is to sort of mock the idea that us knowing his cause of death is important, and even go a step further and sort of subtly shame people like, oh, it's none of your business. His parents, his family probably wants privacy on the issue. Just leave them alone. This is a very common tactic we see, especially in bot algorithms, where they try to turn the tables and make you feel bad for asking. It's a technique that can be used on just about any topic. A topic where you really should be informed, you can turn the tables on someone the same way. It's these weird mental techniques. So what I said here, and I'm going to use my careful language when I say this, is I said, if he, that's Mark Lanigan, suddenly became pro Big V after surviving his terrible Big C incident, perhaps he took the Big V and the Big V killed him. It's very clear that the mainstream media has been in cover-up mode. They do not want to talk about people dying from the Big V because they spent all that time during the big C, shaming people for not wanting to take it. I don't believe I made any assertion there. I said, perhaps he took the big V and the big V killed him. Perhaps. So I'm not allowed to say perhaps. I'm not allowed to think the thought. I'm not saying that it killed him. I'm saying I'm contemplating the idea that it killed him. And they're saying you can't even contemplate that idea. I mean, think about that. That's pretty bad censorship right there. And then I go on to say that it's very clear that the mainstream media has been in cover-up mode. Okay, well, that's an opinion I'm making. You know, people may not agree with that, but, you know, you see this, like, what was that one football player that just fell down? Young guy, strong, healthy, on Monday Night Football. I saw it on TV. The dude just fell. And they never really explained that thoroughly, what happened there. I know somebody, a young girl, I don't think she's even, I think she's like 28. She's a mess. She's had heart surgery. She's had heart problems. She's all loaded up on the big V, and I'm sure she took the follow-ups too. And, you know, her mother tries to talk to her, and she gets very defensive and, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist, and shut up and shut up. And this girl's got a lot of problems, and she's a young, healthy woman. She shouldn't be having these problems. So I'm not saying that's proof of anything, but I think most of us probably know someone who's had an incident like this. And it's okay to ask questions. You know, when they're telling you don't ask questions, shut up. I mean, what country is this? This is the United States. We're supposed to have freedom of speech. We're supposed to say what we want. And they try to turn it around and you're like, oh, you're causing people to die by your misinformation that you're spreading. I mean, I don't know, man. It's pretty scary stuff. Okay, so let's talk about a company that is approved by the CDC and approved by whatever YouTube is saying I need to adhere to their approval. Let's talk about a company that is approved by these trusted establishments. One of them is Pfizer. And about a year ago, I posted this, which was taken from an interview, or not an interview, but a undercover individual who went on a date with this guy, Jordan Tristan Walker, who is Pfizer Director of Research and Development. And this guy didn't know that he was being filmed. And you know what he said? He said they were sitting around talking about mutating the illness so that they could then cash in and manufacture the cure, manufacture the big V that would resolve it. So they're taking advantage of the fear people have about getting sick. So, you know, if YouTube is going to wag their finger and say, oh, don't spread misinformation around, well, look at what the individuals at these quote-unquote trusted establishments are saying. I mean, we're supposed to trust them? So you see that the censorship is very dangerous. You know, saying you can't talk about this and you can't talk about that. Oh, I'm not allowed to talk about this sketchy person here. I'm not allowed to question Pfizer after seeing something like this. I mean, anyone in their right mind should be questioning it. I mean, the irony is, so many people are terrified about, staying healthy that they're making choices that are actually risking their health. You see? So it's madness. Now, this was the biggest video, the most viral story that Project Veritas did. And in fact, it caused Project Veritas to get infiltrated somehow, and they booted James O'Keefe out, and he's the one who started Project Veritas. And to this day, they're still trying to sue him. So they're still taking money from donors, and they're using that to legally go after James O'Keefe. That's how serious this is, okay? So the narrative behind the Big V is very serious to Big Brother, because it's one of Big Brother's strong arms that he's chokeholding you with. That's why the establishment, media and Google, they've got to immediately censor people. I had 6 views on that video, and they had to literally take it down. Now, I don't think I ever made a video about this blog here that I did 3 years ago, looks like, called Trouble in the Underground, which is about Eric Wagner, the singer for Trouble, who died not long after allegedly getting the Big C. And the whole thing just smelled funny. So what I did was I collected all the media information surrounding his death, and I sort of step back and I compare it to information that's available. And there's some pretty interesting insights here, I think, if I do say so myself. I'd highly encourage you to read it. I feel like I've been getting lazy. I go through this and I see all the work I did on it. Like look at this quote here. One article said, "Big V'd people, like Wagner reportedly was, are more likely to be hospitalized or die from the big C than people who are fully big V'd." You see right there, that's the narrative that they're trying to enforce with the whole. They used Eric Wagner's death as an opportunity to amplify this whole narrative, which is why the details are important. The poster on my YouTube page who said, well, what does it matter why Mark Lanigan died? Well, this is why. Because they try to use the death, they limit the information we get about the death so that we can't disprove their narrative that they're pushing, you see? So it's, it sucks that you got to articulate this stuff so much. There's people that they can't even sit there and listen to you talk for more than a couple sentences about something like this. But we need to have this dialogue. We need to talk. We need to get deep about this, because if we don't, we're just sitting ducks here, and if I got to be the annoying person in the room who's talking too much and saying things that, annoys other people, then fine, I'll be that guy. I'm proud to be that guy. There's more of us every day. Anyway, there's a very interesting video interview with that Eric Wagner did with some Brazilian fans not too long before he died. It's probably still on YouTube there somewhere. And they asked him how he felt about the idea of mandatory big V's, where they were talking about, oh, we better make people take this, because if we don't, they're going to run around and cause everyone to die. Which is, we can see as ridiculous now, because everyone and their mother was taking it. Everyone, both my parents took it, and they're still afraid. They still want to keep taking new versions of it. If you need to keep taking it, it's not working, obviously. So it's just madness. Anyhow, here's what Eric Wagner said about that. And I'm going to use careful language here. So if it sounds funny, that's why. I hope they don't do that, because I really don't want to take it. I don't want it. I remember my parents, every time they went to get a medicine shot, they were always sick. They got sick, And even here, pharmaceuticals are so expensive, and there's a lady standing there wanting to give me a free medicine shot. Why is it free? That's what scares me right there. Here you go. Let's test this out on you. No thanks. I'd rather have the illness. Now, I'm not anti-Big V, all right? I recognize that some of them are tested and tried and true and work well, and I've taken plenty of them. I'm talking specifically about the Big V in reference to the Big C. That's where we have problems. And as long as they're shaming people from asking questions and covering things up, we don't have enough information to have the argument they think we're supposed to have. Like, where's your evidence? Or, oh, well, Eric Wagner was a conspiracy theorist, or Wino was a conspiracy theorist, or, Sean Killian was a conspiracy theorist. It's like this game. It's information warfare. It's an information war that we're in, and this is part of what I believe is World War III that's already going on. Now, some of you might remember that a lot of schools, we're trying to mandate the Big V for kids. Now, the fact is, kids don't really die from it. And here's an article from USA Today. Of the 73 million children in the U.S., fewer than 700 have died from the Big C during the course of the pandemic, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Rauch puts the figure into context using the number of people who can typically fit into a sports venue. I guess that's the doctor that put this out or whatever. He said, think about it in terms of football stadiums. In 100,000 kids, one of them is not going to make it with the Big C. You hear how the language he's saying it kind of funny? What he's saying is 1 out of 100,000 dies when they get it, you see? Which basically means, it doesn't mean it's harmless, but I mean, 1 out of 100,000 people that walk down the street are going to get, attacked by a dog, or, have a piano fall on their head. I mean, you're never 100% safe anywhere, not even in your own house, right? So basically, kids did not die from it. and yet they were trying to mandate it and force them to take it. Now, why would they do that? In the first place, okay, yeah, they're just trying to line their pockets. But I mean, again, this gets down to the trust issue. How can we trust people like this? How can we trust establishments like Pfizer and the government and the CDC? It always goes back to, trust the science, trust the CDC, trust the, my dad tells me, oh yeah, we follow the mandates. We just look at the website, we follow the mandates. Well, you're blindly following the establishment that is giving it to kids who don't need it, just so they can make money at best, at worst, so they can, fuck the kids up. Now, because the censorship police on Google make it almost impossible to actually provide you with solid information in order for you to research the other side of the coin with regard to the big V, all I can really do is point you to this website here called dailyclout.io. And this is run by very reputable people, doctors and scientists and people involved in, lawyers and such have gotten involved here. There's good people out there trying to gather all the information, and I challenge you to find a better, more well-sourced page than this. I mean, you want to get banned from YouTube, just start reading this. Just start reading this right here. I mean, I can barely read this. I'll read what I can here. This is quoting a paper, a peer-reviewed scientific document. And you want to go check the credentials. I'm showing you exactly where to go to double check it. Big C, big V's cause more side effects than any other V, which means that if I say I'm not down with the big V, it doesn't mean I'm anti-V in general. It just means like I'm going, hey, this one's different. I don't know if I like this one. There's nothing wrong with saying that. You shouldn't get persecuted for saying that. It's ridiculous. Never in V history have we seen 1,011 case studies showing side effects of a V. It is inconceivable why it would be impossible to go through the study data in a few months when it took the CDC less than 4 weeks to give the injection's emergency use authorization, unless you want to entertain the idea that the study data were never actually read and scrutinized, a frightening perspective. So basically, this data that they're presenting, they're saying it was fully available to the CDC. They knew about it. They just went right past it and rushed this big V anyway. The official public message is that the big Vs are safe. However, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, TGA, the Medicine and Therapeutic Regulatory Agency of the Australian government, states quite clearly on their website that the large-scale trials are still progressing and no full data package has been received from any company. So anyway, you can read on. There's a lot here. It's very dense. If you don't like reading, I'm sorry, but someone has to like reading here. Someone has to be the nerd, the annoying nerd in the room who's looking into this, because if you don't, we're sitting ducks. These people are heroes for doing this. Look at the pushback they get. The final paragraph sums it up. As scientists, we put up hypotheses and test them using experiments. If a hypothesis is proven to be true according to current knowledge, it might still change over time when new evidence comes to light. Hence, sharing and accumulating knowledge is the most important part of science. The question arises when and why this process of science has been changed. No discussion of new knowledge disputing the safety of the big C, big Vs is allowed. Who gave bureaucrats the means to destroy the fundaments of science and tell scientists not to argue the science? Of course, there have been many papers saying the big C, big Vs are life-saving. Published papers are often completely wrong. One of my all-time favorites is the BARDA paper published in the NEJM because it was used at an ACIP meeting where they showed figure 3. When I saw that it showed that the big Vs dramatically cut your risk of pulmonary embolism, I couldn't believe that anyone took this paper seriously. Let's be clear. There is no possible mechanism of action that can reduce your risk of pulmonary embolism. Anyway, it goes on. So, as you can see, it's very dense. And, if you can't read this stuff and understand it, you can't dispute it. So, one argument would be, well, you're just throwing a bunch of jargon at me that I can't understand, and you're saying that means you're right. Well, okay, maybe, but I mean, again, you've got to be able to dig through this and understand it in order to get to the truth. If you're not willing to do that, then you're just echoing whatever you feel like echoing. You gotta know. But when it comes down to it, and someone says, what evidence do you have? What do you have to back up your claim? I mean, unless they can cite a newer, more comprehensive review paper which reached the opposite conclusion, every health authority, including the CDC, should let everyone know about this paper. I'm sure they will all do this immediately, right? Just like they let the public know about the benefits of maintaining normal levels of vitamin D. If you have inadequate levels of vitamin D, you can reduce your risk of getting big C substantially by fixing the deficiency. So, what I really like about this site too is it's very informative. Of course they got to sell stuff too. They're going to, have various products for you to buy to boost your immune system or whatever. But I mean, you get smarter just reading this stuff. So anyway, I was pretty careful about all that. Let's see what happens if I get taken down or get another strike or whatever.